So, Namaste, Tashidele, and Kuzu Zangpola. So, venerable members of the Sangha, wisdom seekers, and my dear Dharma friends, I feel incredibly honored and privileged to be visiting Bhutan once again. So, I thank the organizers of the 5th Vajrayana conference for having me here. And while there are countries which constantly pursue power, wealth, influence, fame, and even military might, I'm very happy to visit Bhutan because Bhutan is very unlike any other country in the world. It's a country that is in serious pursuit of wisdom and happiness, or the wisdom of happiness. I think this is the essential goal of human civilization and life. And probably this is the only country, and such a small country, that is showing the way to the rest of the world. So I'm very happy to be in the land of Thunder Dragon, Rukyul, Bhutan. Thank you so much for having me here. It's a distinct pleasure and honor to be in this Dharma kingdom. So now, I will take you through my paper, and this is, in 2000, I've been going to Ladakh for about 5-6 years now, regularly every summer, and in 2017, after Kalachakra empowerment, I went to Alchi Monastery, and when the grace of a master like His Holiness touches you, things open up, So in the empowerment, I'd heard that now you are initiated into the mandala of so-and-so with a vase, with a Vajra, Dorje, and with a Utpala flower and all that. And I started wondering, now I'm a family member of Ratna Sambhava family or Amoga Siddhi family, and who are these family members that I don't know of, And when I went to Alchi, a new door opened up for me. And Alchi, as you know, is a 10th century monastery. It's 1,000 years old. It is situated on the banks of Indus River in Ladakh, and it is filled with elaborate paintings. So Alchi Monastery is attributed to this great scholar and translator, Lotsawa Rinchen Zangpo, who visited that Kashmir region twice to help in the second dissemination of Dharma teachings in Tibet. And Lotsawa Rinchen Zangpo is of 10th century, and he played a very important role in spread of Dharma both in Tibet and in the Himalayan Kashmir Ladakh region. He can be actually seen as a founding father of the modern Ladakhi culture. The monastery showcases a blend of Gandhara, now Kashmir region, and Tibetan artistic styles, what we know as Tibetan Thangka today. And it has very huge murals and very impressive stucco sculptures. It is recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site of cultural importance, and it is celebrated for its Indo-Himalayan art aesthetics and is considered one of the oldest monastic complexes in Himalayan region. To put it in perspective, Alchi is like from the 10th century, whereas the great monasteries of Tibet, the Densasum, Sera, Gaden, Tashilumpo, they are from 14th century. So it predates by 400, 450 years. Now, Alchi is filled with mandalas, and the walls are like massive, and the mandalas are massive. It's not your small mandala. They are on the wall, and you can actually stand in front of a mandala and enter the mandala, metaphorically, when you're initiated to enter a mandala. And so these are some pictures. And Alchi's temples are adorned with very intricate murals and mandalas, and integrating elaborate art with relatively simple architecture. The architecture is relatively primitive. The murals depict vast tantric worlds, allowing practitioners to immerse themselves in sacred space and profound visualization. And the large scale of these mandalas facilitate full sensorial experience, aligning with Vajrayana ritual practices. So I spent many a summer there, So then slowly these things grow on you, and the initiation takes time. And when the seed is planted, it kind of, with the right causes and conditions, starts, blossoming or giving some results. So here, mandalas are sacred space in art and architecture, and we all know, I think, even our professor in the last session, he presented the 5 elements and things like that. So in architecture and in art, they help in visualization and go on a metaphorical inward journey. Okay. Now, when you go to the mandala of Alchi, it is a very complex set of mandalas. It's not a very easy one, because there are many mandalas with many set of deities and families of deities. Some are with 24 deities, some are with 36, some with 64, and so on and so forth. So to understand this, kind of this thing, we have to go back to a very classical, text in Tantric Buddhism called the Nishpana Yogavali. It's a very original work compiled by Mahapandita Abhyankara Gupta of Vikramshila Monastery. Abhyankara Gupta was the abbot of Vikramshila Monastery, and we know Vikramshila Monastery because this is where Palden Atisha studied, and later Lama Taranatha, of the Jonang tradition and Kalachakra, this thing, also studied. So this authoritative work of Nishpana Yogavali, it focuses on what a certain kind of mandala is, and what are the deities, and how it is, constructed, what is its geometry, architecture, and so on and so forth. So it comprises of 26 chapters, each dedicated to a specific kind of mandala and a family of mandala and a series of, rules which need to be followed when the mandala is created. Unfortunately, after the Alchi, Sumda, Mangyu temples, I think in India the tradition was lost, but it still continues in the Nevari region of Nepal. So here, when you look at a mandala, based on what purpose it is used for, so there's an outer circle, there's a primary first layer, secondary layer, third layer, and a central focal point. And the outer circle usually acts as a fence or a perimeter. It's a protection circle. The inner circle is, offering. So it can be for merit and accumulation. The second can be for wisdom and discernment. Third is perfection of wisdom. And the center of the mandala is usually a representation of a Dharmadhatu or a Buddha nature in one form or the other. Like how in Tantra you have, the Kriya Tantra, the Yoga Tantra, the Charya Tantra, and the Anuttara Tantra. Likewise, in the mandala also, depending on the deity, depending on the tantra class, and depending on the complexity, you have many layers and many kind of depictions. Okay, so the iconography can be of guardians at the external this thing, offerings, what you call chope lomo, in the form of fruits and precious things, the rinchen nadun, the special offerings of the emperor, and then there can be deities, who are in wrathful or pleasant kind this thing with implements, which can be in the form of a vajra bell, a furba or dorje, or even a blazing sword like Manjushri. And then at the heart of the mandala is the Dharmadhatu, and it is usually the emptiness that is shown in the form of a bindu or a seed syllable or Vairochana Buddha, And now the Vajrayana triple level correspondence to this is like, it can mean body, speech, mind. It can mean outer tantra, inner tantra, secret tantra. It can be the ground path result. It can be nirmanakaya, sambhogakaya, dharmakaya body. It can be the seed syllable, oma, hum. It can be the outer deity, inner deity, and the innermost or the secret deity. And it can be the deity form. It can be the light and sound or the mantra, and the syllable dissolving into emptiness. So the metaphor across all of Vajrayana, the threefold metaphor, can be applied to all the mandalas while you're engaging with the practice. Now, very interestingly, what happened was whenever I would go to the main Dukhang, it's called the Vairochana Lakhang or the Vairochana temple, you walk inside, you enter, a small gate, and then there is an altar at the center where there's a mandala of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas with Vairochana in the center. Alongside the wall, there's a certain, sequence of mandalas. And knowing, the Buddhist masters and ancient Indian masters, they won't do anything without any specific purpose or detail. So the mandalas are sequenced in a certain way. So when I started learning more and exploring about the mandalas, I found it very interesting that there's a telescopic format to everything. How you enter the monastic complex or temple complex itself is a mandala. Then how you go through an experience of the mural on this thing, that itself is a mandala. Then how you penetrate each this thing is again a mandala. So it is a telescope in every direction of perception that goes into a kaleidoscope of things. So it's truly a Vajrayana thing, where you can see Buddha nature everywhere, and everything is suddenly, animated and, full of the wisdom of emptiness. So firstly, it starts with the Trailokyavijaya mandala, and this is a very interesting deity. Trailokyavijaya is called the conqueror of the 3 worlds, and he's a wrathful form of Vajrapani. So to understand this, you have to go back to the Manjushri Nama Sangati. So Manjushri Nama Sangati is the teaching which Buddha gives to Vajrapani, and his wrathful entourage, and that sums up the entire body of the Buddha's teaching. It is considered to be just that one Manjushri Nama Sangati encapsulates the entire teaching of the Buddha and all the Tantra. So it is such a powerful this thing. So the first mandala begins with this wrathful deity, Trailokyavijaya, and this is his iconography. He is showing trampling over, Bhairava and Kalaratri. And, earlier they read it as like, Hindu gods being trampled over. But later when you discover the iconography deeper and deeper in Tantra, when physical body is trampled upon, it shows that awareness or awakening going to the next stage. It's like a gate paragate kind of a moment. So you have Vajrayogini trampling about on the bodies of the same, Kalaratri and Bhairava. You have a Mahakala trampling over Ganesha, Then in the Shakta and the Kali Kaula tradition, you have Kali and Kamakya herself trampling over Shiva. So it shows that it is ascension or, movement to a next level rather than any malefic intent or, any kind of this thing. So it's a gate gate paragate kind of a moment, right? So when you see this Trailokyavijaya mandala, at the heart of this mandala is actually, Vairochana, but you can see different representations of Trailokyavijaya in the colors of Akshobhaya, Amitabha, Ratnasambhava and Amoga Siddhi also, okay? And then the next mandala happens to be the Dharmadhatu Vagishvara Manjushri mandala. So this comes directly from the Namasangati, the chanting of names of Manjushri, which is a very profound, text where Vagishvara Manjushri is considered to be the Lord of speech, and it is a very particular manifestation of Manjushri, who espouses or who kind of, teaches you about the nature of Dharmadhatu. So here, the Namasamgati encapsulates the entire wisdom, and in the first, this thing you can see that there is Trailokyavijaya, who's a fearful protector. So he initiates you, into the mandala, like, to help you overcome your fears because it's a wrathful deity. Then Manjushri elaborates on that with the wisdom sword. So the Rigpa, cutting through wrong views and perfecting the right view, So this mandala has Manjushri in 8 armed with a bunch of, things he's holding. He's holding the sword, he's holding Pecha, then there's the Utpala, then there's the, what is it, Pasha Ankusha kind of thing. So Manjushri at the center here represents the, perfection of, understanding, the luminous awareness, its wisdom and understanding, Vipassana and Samatha balance. Immediately after this mandala, you move to the Prajnaparamita mandala. So you have first the Trailokyavijaya mandala, then the Namasamgati Vagishvara Manjushri mandala, and then the Prajnaparamita mandala. And this is the highest form of perfection of wisdom. As we know, Prajnaparamita is the ultimate wisdom, and it is not just a deity, but also the embodiment of transcendent knowledge. And it is an ineffable experience of Shunyata. Here she is venerated as the mother of Buddhas, Sarva Buddha Mata. It's a very poetic this thing that in the Dharma tradition, the infinite nature of everything stretches. So there's a saying that it goes, Buddhanam janani shani bodhisattva pitamahi, prapitamahi sattvanam pragye devi namostute. So she's seen as the mother of Buddha, then the grandmother of the bodhisattvas, and the great-great-grandmother of all sentient beings, So the idea of telescoping outwardly in an infinite space is very beautifully expressed here. Then here at the heart of this mandala is the Prajnaparamita. So when you see the sequence, Trailokyavijaya for protection, Manjushri, Namasamgati for wisdom in action and, perfecting the wisdom, and Prajnaparamita is the perfection of wisdom. It is the meditative realization or the union of wisdom of emptiness and compassion, right? Now, when you look at these kind of complex, consciousness maps like mandala, you wonder where does these things start from, Like interdependence always takes you to some point, both ways, You can go linking up or delinking. So when you go, you find the answer for this in Acharya Nagarjuna's very beautiful Dharmadhatu Namastavaha. It's a praise for Dharmadhatu, where he describes very beautifully the deities of a very simple, Dhyani Buddha Mandala, the 5 families of the Buddhas. In the center is Vairochana. He comes from the Vam syllable. Then above him is, Amitabha, who comes from A syllable. Then there is Akshobhaya, Amoga Siddhi, and Ratnasambhava. And the way Nagarjuna does is very beautiful because, such an enlightened master that whatever he touches or whatever he expresses resonates with that essence of his realization. So I would like to chant this for you. It's a small, 7-8 line shloka. And in this shloka itself, you focus on this particular image. You can see that how the description of the mandala is already there in the shloka. So I think somebody would have realized and made this shloka, and then an artist will be explained this, and that's how the mandalas are made. Okay, so let me just, Om Namo Buddhaya Shri Dharmadhatu Namastavaha Vamkaram Vajra Sattvam Cha Vajrasana Sadastitam Varuna Mandala Vyapi Vairochana Namostute Akaramadi Swabhavam Akashe Vyapitam Tatha Arkanila Samasteja Akshobhya Shri Namostute Rakaram Lakshmi Swabhavam Nana Ratna Manekada Ramvyapitam Cha Pratvim Ratna Sambhava Namostute Akaram Asthiram Bhavam Padmanaga Agniteja Samadishtam Amitabha Namostute. Akaram Tatsvabhavam cha Gandhavaha Samaprabham Akara Vishwavajram cha Amoga Siddhi Namostute. Dhakaram Dharma Swabhavam Dharma Sangha Swarupakam Dhatvashtakam Kirtitam cha Dharmadhatu Namostute. Sakaram Sarva Sampattihi Sarva Mangalamarthanam Sarva Siddhitvamevata Siddhi Vajra Namostute. So very beautifully, Nagarjuna is able to take you from the vibration, the seed syllable, to the 5 elements. He also says that, this Akshobhya comes from the sky-like nature, Namkha. This Vairochana comes from the water element, Amitabha from the fire, then Ratna Sambhava from the earth, and Amoga Siddhi from the wind. So he takes you through the vibration aspect, through the subtle wind energy, this thing, so the mantra, the wind energy, and the light, which is the color and the visualization. And all of this encoded in a shloka. And the whole thing, again, blasts out and elaborates as a mandala and this experience of, Alchi Monastery. So with this, I come to the conclusion. So I would like to dedicate the merit of this small sharing, to the long life of my teacher, His Holiness the Great 14 Dalai Lama. And to the noble aspirations and the unyielding spirit of the Tibetan people, and to the Dharma kingdom of Bhutan and the royal guardians, the monastic Sangha, and the devoted, kind-hearted, and simple people who keep the sacred flame of Dharma alive. So there's happiness and light everywhere. So I'm very grateful to see this. And lastly, I pray that may this merit ripple from Tibet, from Bhutan, from neighbors of India, and rekindle the timeless Dharma that once brilliantly shown in India and in Bharat, the land of this thing, as once it was before. So thank you so much. Tashi Dale Katrin.